Welcome students. Today is the lesson number 19. In this lesson I will be discussing on the various accessories that are to be used along with the total station. Now already we have discussed about the total station, which primarily contains, or it is an integration unit of electronic theodolite, then your EDM instrument and the microprocessor or the computer that has been already inbuilt within this instrument. Again, to operate these primary units we need to have some many small parts like these screws and then dryback and all this thing, tripod stand, that we have discussed in the last class. However, for to carry out the work more automatically or to complete the work easily, we need to have some more accessories to be associated with the total station, and some of them are integrated with this unit and some of them are independent of this unit. So today I am going to discuss on those accessories, the accessories which are very important to work with the total station are control panel. Already a little bit of this we have discussed in last classes. Then there is a data collector, then we need to have some memories inside this instrument, then reflectors and software. These are the different 5 units which I will discuss today. So I have told you that there are 5 accessories which I will be discussing today, and some of these accessories are integrated with this total station, and like the control panel, and within this control panel actually some arrangement called data collector is also there, and sometimes this data collector may be external. So it varies from system to system. Most of the total station is also associated with memories to store the data, and those memory may be internal memory as well as in some instrument there may be arrangement for external memory using memory card. Then some reflector which is also always independent of this total station. So I will be discussing. Let me start with the control panel. Now control panel of total station basically consists of a keyboard and a display unit. This is a multiple line liquid crystal display LCD, this one, and a keyboard. These are the different keys which constitute the keyboard. Now these keyboards or these keys are used to provide different information or to carry out different work by this instrument, by the total station. Now in this keyboard actually there are different types of keys are available which I will be discussing, and depending upon the nature of the key which we will press, the total station will carry out the work. Now in some cases this keyboard is fixed with the instrument, and in some other cases this keyboard along with the data collector may be independent of this unit, and in those cases we may replace this part to some other instrument. Suppose I am using this total station at this location and I have collected the data using the this control panel. Now I want to make use of the data of the total station with some other instrument. So I can take out the part of this data collector or along with this control panel, and I can replace this data collector along with the control panel to some other instrument, so to make use of the same data. So this is the flexibility we have when we have the independent control unit. So basically this keyboard and this display unit are the components of control panel. Now as I told you, this keyboard contains different types of keys, and depending upon the key which we press, the information or the action we can do, the total station will carry out. Now among these keys, now the salient keys are like this. So here you can see the green one, if we press it, then the instrument will be made on. So as soon as we have pressed it, this is made on and some menu will come here. Then this is the illumination keys, this is the illumination key. If I press it, you can see that we will be able to get the illumination of this LCD display. Then our star key, this star key, now if you press this star key, you can see that we can change the mode of this. Now it is some other mode and we can change to some other mode here. So now we can select the mode which we would like to do. So star key is primarily used to change or jump from each basic mode screen for checking or changing variant setting directly. Now this is the escape key. Now this escape key used to for input of data. Now you can see that we had, that is, or some to return to the previous screen. So if I want to previous screen, we can, now you see that we have returned to previous screen. So escape mode is used to cancel the input data or to return to previous screen. Now tab, this is the tab key. If we press it, then we will be able to shift to next item. Then our BS key, this key deletes a character on the left, and SP is a key that provides the input space. So different keys has different function. Like function key, I have a function key here which may be used to toggle between observation mode screen pages. So you can see here that if I use this thing, suppose this one different, so after that I can select enter, so I can do it. So by entering we can carry out, by function key we can choose the function to be done, by entering that work will be done. So now there are so many keys which are alphanumeric in nature. So same keys will be used for giving the alphabets, or it may be numericals, but this key which is called alpha key, if we press it, then the input mode will be decided whether we will like to go for numeric mode or in the alphabetic mode. So after pressing this alpha key, we have to shift. If we choose for the alphanumeric keys, alphabetic keys, then we have to press the shift key to get the uppercase or lowercase alphabets. Now here is a key called target key. If we press this key, then we can choose the target whether it is a reflector or without reflector. So this is called target key. Then there is a key called program key, PRG. So this will take us from basic mode to program mode, or program mode to basic mode. So we can change the mode of this our observation by pressing this PRG key. So in that way there are different keys. We need to know about the function of different keys before we go for operation. And so with this, like keyboard I had discussed, this is the pictorial, this is the actual keyboard, and this is the pictorial view of this whatever I had discussed. Now each total station is also integrated with a part of the instrument called data collector. So, by the name itself we can understand data collector is an electronic instrument which, or an electronic arrangement through which we can measure, collect the observation or measurements. Also data collector will be used to store the measurements or observations which we will acquire automatically. Also through data collector we can provide the point identifier. Suppose I have seen we have collected the data about the corner of a road. So we can, along with that point we can provide a code for road. Suppose I have collected the data about the location of a tree. So with respect to tree I can provide some code. So that type of arrangements are there with the data collector, and that helps in making the map better or easy in future. Now this data collector actually collects the data in either in binary format or in ASCII format. Binary format data actually are more accurate and we will be able to get more information, but however we need to convert it to ASCII mode to download it, to read it. So ultimately we will get the data in ASCII format. Now this data collector also helps to scroll through the data so that we can store, we can display, we can review the data, we can edit the data. And the data collector actually every specific instrument, with which each and every specific instrument the type of data collector is specific. So data collector is instrument specific, that we have to be observer, keep it in mind. However, there are some data collector also available which may be useful for different instrument simultaneously, especially now this data collector, as I told you that data collector may be flexible type, which may be taken out from the instrument, and those are a bit flexible type, and sometimes data collector may be external type. That means totally it is independent of the of the total station. So simply we can connect the data collector to the instrument, and we can give, or through Bluetooth communication we can make use of data collector to give different command to the instrument to carry out. So there are two types of data collector available. One is external type, another is the internal type. Now this is one of the external type of data collector. Now here you can see we have the keypad here and also there are different functions that can be done. Inside these there are different types of software which we can make use to get the work done. Also this type of external data collector have the Bluetooth connectivity. Through this Bluetooth we can also get the work done by the total station. So this is an external type of data collector and it has some operating system like Windows CE operating system. Thus variety of Windows software program can be performed through this data collector, and also inside this we have different programs which we can make use to do many calculations, and for communication with this instrument, through this we can use the Bluetooth technology, also Wi-Fi technology, and so this is a very powerful thing to make use of external type of data collector, because the same data collector may be used with different instrument, and so same data may be useful. Another variety of data collector is the internal type. Now this internal type actually they are connected with the instrument directly. Now among the internal type there may be two variety, one is that fixed with the instrument like this one, and another this is also an internal data collector having the control unit, this keyboard and the display unit, which is detachable. So it is attached fixed with the instrument. So and this is detachable. This type of data internal data collector may be used with many other instrument, and same data may be useful similar to what we have seen for external data collector. However, this type of data collector will have less capability than the external type of data collector I have shown. That internal data collector actually have all the specifications of a external data collector, and also it make use of Windows C operating system, and then it has this stylus. With the help of stylus we can do many works in it. So so whether it is internal data collector or external data collector, all these data collectors provides us automatically we can measure the different parameters, then we can make use of data collector to process, display, archive fields notes in Office Reduce significantly. So there are different advantages of using the data collector. The most important advantage is that while we do data collection using manual field notes, then there may be some mistakes in reading or recording the observation, but if we make use of data collector, electronic data collector, then the mistakes is expected to be done less. Then the to process, display and archive field notes in the Office reduce significantly. So by giving the proper code we can make the notes easily, but which is difficult to do in, or it takes time consuming in our manual field notes. Now also this data collector is actually having some computer program, so we can execute many of the programs and we can see the data on real time, we can compute the data in real time, or also so we can store the data in the memory. And making use of data collector we can collect as well as store a huge amount of information in a digital format, and later those data can be easily transported or transferred to other instruments or other software, and we can conduct the work fast and economically. However, there are some disadvantages with the data collector, like because it is a computer based, electronic based. So if we do some mistakes in pressing any keypad, or if there is accidentally there may all the data may get lost, or if the instrument malfunctions, then also our data may be lost. So this is the biggest disadvantage. So whenever we go for electronic data collector system, we should be very careful in making use of that. Apart from that, some of the informations always will not be actually what are the amount of information or what are the information we will be able to put inside our data collector, that is restricted. So many information may not be possible always to maintain in the data collector. Moreover, as I told you that data collectors are instrument specific, so each data collector will have its own data structure about in which it will be maintained or stored. So, each type of whatever the data stored in any data collector, it may not be useful for many other software or many other work. Before that we need to convert it to the respective format. So, need to compatible to the computer or software unit data need to be considered further. So, these are the salient advantage disadvantages, but however nowadays our computer technology or all these works are so improved that these issues has been coming less and less. So, we can very well make use of data collector looking into its advantages. Next, as I told you that total station works electronically, and we do measure, then reduce the data, then we compute the data, all these things electronically through computer programs available inside this data collector or the instrument. So, and all these data, measurement data and things should be stored, and this is stored inside this computer, inside this total station. There may be two ways how this is stored. One is that internal memory that is associated with each instrument, and usually 5,000 to 10,000 coded points can be stored in a single instrument. And with days, because we are getting more and more smaller dimension and memory card, so memory storage. So, more and more data can be stored inside the computer, inside this instrument. However, there is another way how we do store is that external memory card or memory card. Now, it is one of the arrangement which is the memory, external memory, which can be touched with this instrument using some portable cord, and we can also store the data externally, or sometimes some memory card is also kept inside this instrument. So, in that card also we can store similar to any other computer, and later we can take out the memory card and we can read it. So, the memory, with respect to memory of total station, there may be two types, as I told you. One is that internal memory that is associated with the instrument itself, or in external memory. Now, all the works of the total station finally is got done through some software, and there are three different types of software. Generally we made use for collecting, operating the instrument, collecting the data, and then processing the data. For each instrument there is fundamentally a software which is called operating system. Within that operating system we do generally install the measurement software, also called field software. So, generally we use the Windows CE operating system, and within that system actually we do in case of this instrument it is the magnet field on board field software used. In some other instrument some other field software will be used. So, and these field softwares are actually manufacturer dependent. So, different manufacturers provides different types of field software and then making use of the control panel, using the data collector. Through this software we collect the data, and those data will be downloaded to some processing software. Now, there are different types of processing software which is made use to arrive at the final product of the data collected, and many times it is the map. So, we use generally we can use Carlson software, AutoCAD software, then Liscad software, there are many other softwares. So, software ultimately it is the software which really provides us the final outputs. And finally, the topic on reflector. So, this is the integrated instrument, but these instruments take the measurement by making use of some light reflected from a reflector. So, and that is so it is named the reflector. Reflector is a part of the instrument which reflects the light. Light may be in visible or in visible band or in infrared band, depending upon what we may use. And that reflected light this instrument receives back, and from that reflected light only all the measurements are being done, fundamentally measurements of slope distance as well as the horizontal and vertical angle. Now, these reflectors actually consist of special reflecting prism constructed from glass tubes and blocks. Now, let me show you some reflector. As you see, this is a reflector, this is a single prism reflector. So, only one prism is being used, and the intersection of this line and this line gives you the exact center of this prism. So, this is a single prism reflector, and there are another variety called 3 prism reflector. In this case you can see that there are 3 prisms which are available in the reflector. So, depending upon our purpose, this whether we may use one single reflector or triple prism reflector. Sometimes there are reflectors which are having 36-degree prism for robotic total station. Now, these reflectors actually are placed over a tripod stand. So, reflector may be placed on a tripod stand. So, like this is a tri-back which we can make use to fix on the tripod, and on that we will place this. Now, this is an arrangement we can do, this is called fixing the prism on the tripod stand. Now, here you can see that I had shifted the instrument and I had replaced the instrument using this tripod head on all these things. So, the centering as well as leveling we will not be in need to do if I use the same tri-back, or if I use the different tri-back, then I have to centering is avoided. So, in that way we can take the reading at the same time where the instrument was. So, now another way how this prism we generally made available in the is in a pole. Now, this pole may be kept straight by holding it, or sometimes we make use of a tripod. Now, so in the field the reflector may be of single prism or it may be 3 prism, and either of them may be placed on a tripod stand like this, or it may be held on a single pole. So, now one thing important, whenever we will use the prism we must note down a constant called prism constant. So, it generally varies from 30 to 40 millimeter. Actually the center of the prism and the reflecting distance, there is a different distance between the effective center of the prism and the distance between the effective center of the prism and the vertical line, vertical axis of this, there is a difference, that is called prism constant, and that has to be fed to the computer before we make use of the prism. So, this is an important point to be noted. So, and that is all about our reflectors. So, with this I like to conclude today's class. So, we have seen that the apart from the fundamental units and small parts, we have to make use of some accessories associated with the to be associated with the total station, which may be integrated to the total station or it may be independent of the total station, and sometimes some accessories may be attachable or detachable. So, all these makes the digital field data collection much easier and simpler. With this I like to conclude today's class, and next class I will be talking on how to handle a total station and how to set up a total station before we start any observation. Thank you.